I'm Cindy Brown, and let's queer up business. Openly gay Apple CEO Tim Cook to step down September 1st, making historic leadership shift. Apple's out gay CEO Tim Cook will step down as Apple's Senior Vice President of Hardware Engineering. John Ternus will take over. Cook, who took the reins in 2011 after the death of co-founder Steve Jobs, will stay in charge until September 1st. After that, Cook will transition into the role of executive chairman of Apple's board, where he will continue engaging with policymakers around the world. Apple said the transition is part of a long-planned succession, but the shift comes among a growing skepticism over Silicon Valley and whether those tech leaders, including those who are openly queer, have matched public commitments to equality while dealing with the political influence and alliances. Although Cook has said he is not a political person, under his leadership, Apple maintained close ties with the Trump administration. Under Cook, Apple became the first company to reach $1 trillion valuation, and later reached $4 trillion. In 2014, Cook became the first out gay CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Ternus, unlike Cook, has limited political profile. Federal records show his largest donation politically was $5,800 to Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer's campaign in 2021. The transition marks the end of an era shaped by leadership and visibility as one of the most prominent LGBTQ executives in global business. Well, I do have to say, Tim Cook took Apple to great distances, but I hate seeing these big tech companies in bed with the Trump administration, and someone who should be really committed to equality, letting those values that should be so important to Apple's culture just fly right out the window. Let's see what happens under
this new guy.
I'd be interested to see what he does now when he leaves. How's he going to use his education, his input, his knowledge to assist LGBTQ+, help other businesses? What's he going to do after this? I'm really interested in seeing how he's going to use that much knowledge and some of his power.
I think he didn't end up bringing the representation that many in the community
I agree
hoped.
with that 100%.
And so there was some disappointment. On the other hand, it was kind of nice to see a queer person at the helm of such a massive and successful company.
This might have freed him up to be more politically active in his own way. Maybe he's, I can only, make fiction in my own mind, but perhaps he felt that the role was too limited for what he wants to accomplish in this next phase of his life. The next guy that's coming in, I believe Mr. T. When Mr. T comes in, it seems like he was giving money, $5,800 to Chuck Schumer, who's a Democrat. So I don't think the position is going to be filled by somebody who is so politically conservative, maybe somebody who's very establishment. Chuck Schumer is very establishment. Right. There are a lot of liberals and leftists who absolutely think he's in league with, any Republican, you name it, he's done nothing in their estimation for, gay rights, even though he might talk a good game. It remains to be seen, but you don't become a $1 trillion and then a $4 trillion company by not being in bed, no pun intended, without being in league with the powers that be. So I think that it's easy to say, you cooperated with the Trump government.
Right.
I don't know what the other option is if you want to do business in the United States and you're a company like Apple. So perhaps we'll find out when he writes his autobiography or there's biographies done about him, maybe we'll find out that he headed off some of the worst impulses of, government overreach. So before we demonize him, and I'm not saying that I don't love a good demonization, kick, because a lot of people do need to be demonized. I would say that perhaps there's a lot more under the surface of this, and I think it remains to be seen. Thank
Yeah,
you.
and I hope that we see a lot more high-profile LGBTQ CEOs of large companies moving ahead.
And preferably good-looking ones.
Yeah, there is
Because I like good-looking people.
There's no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing them and sharing Queer News Tonight.